Hey friends, so I had an idea, and you can see from the title of this video, Get Free With Me, that it's kind of like a play on the Get Ready With Me videos and other videos like it. And I am gonna try to do this in one take. We'll see. I'm gonna try not to stop and like re-say things and all of that, all the things that you don't see when you're watching a video. But I've been seeing all these Get Ready With Me videos and I've been like, what? Like I can't do one of those videos because what getting ready with me looks like is waking up and putting on clothes, putting a little water in my hair and going on with the day. So I wanted to talk about using your voice for change, for social change, and just my own experience with that. And really, like, I want to talk about the struggles and the fears that I've experienced throughout my life around this, and then also what I've seen in other people, as this is something that I work with a lot of people around. And then I also want to talk about like some of the things that I've learned and the insights and tips that I have around it, and also just where I'm at with it and like what's on the horizon for me and what I'm digging into and learning and growing around right now, getting free around right now. So for a lot of us, using your voice can be a challenge. It can definitely be something that's really scary. A lot of us have things like stage fright, fears of public speaking, or even when you're like in small groups or in your friend groups, or you're with people that you don't really know, or you're with people that you really do know, you're with family or people that you're deeply connected to. Using your voice in ways that are advocating for something, or that might create a little conflict, or that might make people feel uncomfortable, or whatever it is, it can be really scary, challenging, and that's definitely something that I have experienced in many ways. I think about when I was a little kid and I grew up in church, and if you know what being in a Christian church can be like, especially around like holidays and whatnot, when like Easter comes around or Christmas or whatever. I grew up being a part of churches where they would like take the kids and you gotta go perform something on the stage in front of everybody. And I remember when I was little, I've always loved singing. I've always had a very strong relationship with music, and I remember I was always okay, really throughout my teens and even till now. In a lot of ways, I was always okay on stage as long as there were other people next to me, as long as I wasn't the only one up there. If I was the only one up there, it was terrifying. But even with that terror, even with that fear, I have always felt like this urge to be heard, this desire, this sense of like, I have something inside of me that I want to share with people, whether that's like a big like it's like vision oriented and it has to do with my work or whatever, or even if it's just like I have some feelings and I want them to be heard, I want to be understood, I want to feel like I matter to the people around me, and so I want to like use my voice. And it's actually to the point where when I think about what my purpose is, it's very simple, and it's one of the most challenging things for me. Is I really feel like my purpose in this lifetime on this planet right now is to express myself, because magic happens, at least for me, when I do that, even if it's challenging, even if it's hard, even if it's uncomfortable, and it doesn't necessarily feel good in the moment. Me expressing myself has never resulted in something horrible happening. At least nothing that can't be tended to. And this is something that I carry and hold very dear to myself, and it's very, very important to me, not just for myself to use my voice, but I want to support as many people as possible to also use their voice. And I think it's important to me because you know what's happening in the world. And I really believe that every single person on this planet has something, has some medicine, has some gifts, some healing, some inventions, some creativity that our world needs, that we need to experience. I don't think that any person on this planet is here on accident. I don't believe that any person on this planet is here just taking up space and without any purpose. And I really believe, you know, our future, to a lot of us, it feels scary when we're thinking about climate change and we're thinking about what's happening in our governments around the world and what's going on with violence and war and poverty and all of these things. You're looking at the future and it's like, ooh, like, I don't know if we're gonna make it. And I really believe that whatever comes in our future, if it's going to be healing oriented, if it's going to be sustainably oriented, if it's going to be generative, we need each other. We need what each of us brings, the uniqueness and the different perspectives and the different experiences of humanity. We need all of that. And so I want all of us to use our voices, even if we disagree, even if what's being said or what's being heard is creating harm. I think we've got to get it out there so then we can work with it, so then we can make something of it. So as I was thinking about what I wanted to share in this video, I wrote down a few insights, a few tips that have landed with me as I have been in relationship with my voice and trying out different ways of using it, whether that was in school or with friends or through music or through my business, speaking, podcasting, YouTube, wherever it was. There's so much that I've gathered around this, and so I wanted to share a few things with you. There's so much more that I could say about all of this, but just some key things that I want to share with you right this second. And the first one is, if you want to be heard, start listening to yourself. So this is something that I feel like is a lifelong lesson for myself. I grew up and picked up as I was growing up ways in which I have learned to dismiss myself, ways that I have learned to avoid what's going on inside of me, avoid the little like hits of intuition or even just like my feelings, to not really listen to that and really focus in on what other people are saying and prioritize that. And because I got into the habit of doing that throughout my childhood, into teenagehood, into adulthood, it has meant that the voice inside of me got quieter and quieter and quieter over time, and to the point where I was so wrapped up in what was going on around me that I could not hear and was not able to pay attention to what I wanted to say. And that doesn't mean that the voice wasn't there, because there are definitely ways that really, if you stop listening to your body, if you stop listening to your heart and your soul, it will find ways to speak to you. I know when I was in college or even in high school, being in classes and being in some kind of like group discussion, and I remember noticing at some point how when we would be in a discussion and there's a lot of things being said and shared, and it would get to a point where I would start to feel my face get a little warm and my heart would start to like pump a little bit harder, and I would start to like feel my heartbeat a little bit more, and I would just start to get all of these like signs like that I eventually learned was like, you have something to say. I didn't even know when I first started to notice like these things, my body doing things like while we're in the middle of a discussion. I didn't know then what that meant, but because I took note of it and I started to ask myself like, what's going on? What am I like, why is my body reacting like this? And then I started to like experiment with it and see that, oh, when that's happening, that's because I have something going on inside of me that wants to be shared, that's asking, hey, hear me, listen, I have something that I want to share here. And that was only because there were moments where I'd listen and then I'd say, oh, let me just try putting this out there, even though it's a little scary and I don't know how people are going to react to it, and I don't know if it matters or if it's even relevant to the conversation, but let me just share it and see. And then my body would like calm down after like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, but I would feel so much better after that moment where I spoke whatever was there for me than I would if I let that moment pass and didn't say anything and was just all hot and thumpy for no reason. So I think a lot of us want to be heard, and even with that want to be heard, it's also scary. But I think that one of the first steps, if you want to be heard, if you want to be noticed, if you want to feel like you are making a difference and you want to matter, is listen to yourself, listen to what's going on inside of you, your feelings, your like physical sensations. Listen to what's going on through your mind. Give yourself space to express yourself, even if that's just to yourself. The next thing is, you might feel alone. I know that that's a fear for a lot of us. I was sharing earlier that like I felt so much more comfortable when there were other people on stage or in front of a group of people with me than if I were alone. But when you use your voice, you might feel alone, and that's okay. You don't have to avoid that or try to get around that. It's okay to feel alone. And when you use your voice, that's a way to build connection. That's a way for you to find out who are your people and who aren't your people. Who are the people that you want to spend more time with, that you want to cultivate relationship with, and who are the people that aren't here for what you're trying to put out into the world. The only way you're going to figure that out, or one of the quicker ways, because you could sit back and just pay attention to what everybody else is saying and then pick and choose, but it's going to be a little rough finding your people that way. One of the quicker and more potent ways to find your people so that you don't feel alone when you're speaking out for the things that you want to create change in the world around. You got to use your voice. You got to speak out what you have and do it, and do it feeling alone, do it feeling scared, but you will eventually find the people that will support you as you move forward and continue to use your voice. And that'll only happen if you really express what you have going on. The next thing is that actions are louder than words. And I wanted to say it in a different way, but that's the best way to say it. Actions are louder than words. A lot of us, when we were wanting to create change, whether that's in our communities or in the world, in our families, in our friendships, whatever it is, we try to tell people what they need to do and try to convince or like educate people, like here are all the right words and here are all the right ways to think about this. But the most effective way to actually create change is to mind your business and do what it is that you want to see change around. To actually, I say at the end of all of my videos, be the revolution, be the change, be what it is that you want to see in the world. If you want people to, be more aware of issues around bullying, there is a piece in which, yes, education is important, but how are you embodying the things that are necessary to happen, the ways of being that we need to pick up in order to decrease the amount of bullying that's happening in schools? What are you doing? How are you putting that into action? I think that is when we talk about our voice and using our voice comes through in our actions just as much as it can come through in our words. So do the thing, take action, and allow other people to see, oh yeah, they're doing something a little different. What's that about? Because then they'll be able to actually see what it is that you're trying to get them to understand or whatever. And then they'll be able to decide, maybe I want to do this, maybe I don't. I hope that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if you're getting this one. The next little insight, little tip, little tool is that silence is a tool. I think that in a lot of conversations that are happening within social change and social justice oriented conversations, there's this thing where you're like, where there's this message of don't be silent or be silent, and it's like an either or where it's like stop talking or it's like talk. So I think that silence is a tool. I think about there was this moment when I was in college where I was at this event that was centering the narratives and stories and creativity and magic of women of color in particular. And it was a beautiful experience, a beautiful show that they put on. And afterwards, they had this Q&A where they let those of us in the audience ask questions about the processes that they went through to create what they shared with us. And most of the people in the audience were people of color. But there was one white woman that asked a question, but when she asked the questions, she started to go into her story. She started to like get into like why she was asking this question, and she was just taking up a lot of time and space, and started to make it all about her, when the point of the Q&A was for it to be about the people that created this art. And now we can talk all about like taking up space and privilege and all of that. And actually I'm going to create a video about that soon. So make sure you subscribe and you'll see it when I put it up. But I think about that moment because I think that there are times when silence can be used to create space for others to step in and use their voice. And then there are other times where silence can be used to allow harm to happen, where silence can be used to affirm that certain things that shouldn't be happening can still happen. And there are ways in which silence can be used to do both. But I think I wanted to include this one in there because I just want you to think about, where are you being silent and where are you speaking? And whether you're speaking or you're being silent or whatever it is you're doing, all of these are tools to create what it is you want in the world. And are the actions that you're taking around this aligned with what you're actually trying to create, all the change that you're trying to create in the world? I even think about when I was in school and I was in classrooms and in those discussions that I was talking about, there are ways in which I was using silence to try to, like, I really genuinely wanted to hear what everybody else wanted to share, but at the same time I was also using silence to devalue and diminish what I needed to share, what I wanted, or not even thinking about what I wanted, but acting like I didn't have anything valuable to contribute as well. And so that's a point where silence was both being used to create and also to destroy, to diminish what was going on inside of me. So silence is a tool. What are you using it for? And the last thing is, I say at the beginning of a lot of my videos, which reminds me I never introduce myself. I'll do that at the end. I say at a lot of the beginning of my videos, what you do with who you are and what you have matters. And that is like, that's what gets at the core of everything that I've talked about in this video so far, that what you do matters. And I really want to hammer that in, that your presence is already making an impact. And I want you to think about the impact that it's making. Is that the one that you want? Is there anything that you want to change about that? Because a lot of us, we think that we don't matter, that our presence does not make a difference. But it does. You watching this video right now makes a difference in my life, because I get one more view on this video and it lets me know that this video matters to someone. And that's really important to me. I could give you a whole list of all the different ways that the everyday things that you do that you think are meaningless, they matter. So act as if that's true. Okay, I think I should introduce myself now that we're deep into this video and almost at the end. Hey, I'm Andrea. I create content like this and create programs for folks who have a vision for change in the world and want to contribute, want to make a difference, want to create something that makes an impact in the world. And I believe that you are the system and the revolution. I am the system and the revolution. What I do, what you do with who you are and what you have matters. So I would love to know what you're getting from this video, what's resonating with you, what kind of challenges are you having around using your voice, what kind of questions are coming up for you, and just in general, what's next for you? After watching this video, where are you gonna take this next? As you're thinking about you using your voice, what is next for you? In terms of what's next for me, so much. I am going next week to go hang out with one of my friends, James, who we're just gonna sit together and they're gonna support me as I get my first draft of my book out of my brain. And it's a little scary, but I'm really excited for that process. This has been a long time coming. Also, sorry if you can hear the radiator in the background. I live in a very old apartment building in Chicago. And these radiators, they love to sing. They do. They love being heard. So on the horizon for me, I have a book that I am working on, and I'm thinking about doing some vlogs about my process as I'm going through that. So let me know if you are interested in that. And then also for me, like, this YouTube channel is huge for me, in using my voice and just sharing what I think about things and what I believe about things and what I know about things. So that is a big, challenging project that I've put on my plate, this YouTube channel. And then in general, I'm just always building my self-regard muscle. Like, really having regard, giving space to and affirming whatever I have going on inside of me. Whatever's rattling around in my brain, whatever my voice really wants to share, whatever is in my heart, whatever songs I want to sing, just really giving myself space for that. Because the more that I've been able to do that over the course of my life, I'm really like rebuilding and building a strong connection with my voice, so that as I go out into the world and continue to share my voice, it's easier for me. So that's what's on my plate right now around using my voice. And I'm sure as I continue to make YouTube videos, the ease that comes with this and the growth that comes with this will be apparent. So I'm excited about that. And if you want any support around using your voice for social change, or for social justice, or for change in your communities, I have a few links in the description that might be of use to you, so check that out. And if this affirmed or inspired or challenged you in any way and gave you something new to think about, please make sure to like this video and to subscribe so that you can see what I have next and you can let me know that this video was helpful to you. All right, the sun is setting. It's getting hot in here because I'm in a sunroom. My office is in a sunroom in my apartment, and I need to go. So go forth and be the revolution. I'm a beauty blogger now. Ooh, do we love a little glistening?